Are you struggling to keep up with the endless, complicated OSHA and environmental regulations that impact your company? Are you tired of worrying about what might happen if you don't get it figured out soon? If any or all of this sounds familiar, then don't feel bad because you're definitely not alone. And the good news is that you come to the right place, because in this video, I'm going to explain how our Assured Compliance service will help you not only achieve compliance with all these regulations, but also keep you and your staff out of jail, protect your company from fines that could run into the tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, and of course, keep your employees and local communities safe from harm. And all for a fraction of the cost of hiring a full-time safety manager, and we'll even guarantee your company's OSHA compliance. Stick around and I'll show you how we do it. All right, hello and welcome to this tour of our Assured Compliance service. We get a lot of questions about the service, what's included, how it works, why it's important, and so forth. So we decided to go ahead and put this short video together to help explain all that. So here's what we're going to cover today. Number one, we're going to talk about why EHS compliance is so vital and important for your business, kind of the big picture value proposition. Then we're going to describe the service itself. We're going to talk about some of the major features and benefits of the service, what you actually get with the service. And then we're going to end off by talking about how the process works, how we actually implement and manage the service at your company if we decide to work together. All right, so let's begin here. So why is managing environmental health and safety compliance so important for your company? So from a big picture perspective, companies in high hazard industries like manufacturing, construction, energy, distribution, industrial services, and others, these industries and these companies end up exposing their employees, their local communities, and the environment to significant potential harm. And because of that, these companies must manage a long list of environmental health and safety regulations. These are federal and state laws that are designed to help manage and prevent that harm from happening to begin with. Again, that harm to your employees, your community, and to the environment. And I'm talking about agencies like OSHA, Environmental Protection Agency on a federal level, at the state level, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality here in Texas. If you're not in Texas, then your own state environmental agency, Department of Transportation, and local agencies like your local fire department, for example. But as you probably already know by now, this is a lot easier said than done. It's not easy because these regulations are numerous. Not only the actual regulations themselves, but all these different agencies like I just talked about. The regulations are complex and therefore difficult to understand, seemingly ever-changing, and most of all, very difficult to comply with, very difficult to implement and manage at any given company. But failure to manage these compliance regulations isn't an option, because doing so ends up putting your company at risk to major liabilities, including serious employee injuries or even fatalities. Unfortunately, that happens every single day across the country. Huge regulatory fines and penalties. Keep in mind that the average OSHA inspection is going to result in fines anywhere between $30,000 and $80,000, but in a lot of cases they can exceed $100,000, $200,000, or even $300,000, and it doesn't matter the size of the company. And again, that happens every single day across the country. Reputation damage and PR nightmares. So when things go wrong, the local media tends to pick up on it. They'll write about it in the local newspaper. Trade journals will pick up on it. It'll go online. It's hard to quantify the damage, but it's significant and almost impossible to repair once it happens. And that can impact your recruiting. Your clients can read about it. Your competitors can read about it. Again, these can become major PR nightmares for companies. Lost money. U.S. companies lose on average $140 billion every single year with a B to workplace injuries and accidents. Lost customers. A lot of big customers, they want to work with vendors and clients who take compliance seriously because they want to manage their own risk. So if you want to grow your company, keep your customers happy, go after bigger customers, managing EHS compliance is key to help making that happen. And then there's even potential civil and criminal liabilities if things go wrong. So a lot of business owners and managers don't understand that they can actually be held criminally responsible for negligence if something goes wrong. And then again, there's the civil liabilities. If you have a serious employee injury, they can team up with a personal injury lawyer and come after your company for settlements that can run into the millions of dollars. So any of these risks could literally seriously damage or even destroy your company at any moment. And unfortunately, I've seen that happen several times throughout my career, which is one of the main reasons I started this company and offer this service. And I talk a lot about that in my blog posts and so forth. And to make matters worse, small companies are at greatest risk due to a very common lack of internal expertise, time, and resources that are needed to keep up and manage these regulations. Very common dilemma with small companies. So at this point, what are your options to deal with this problem? Number one, you can do nothing. And this picture kind of summarizes what that strategy looks like. You're on a high wire with a blindfold on, just hoping on a day-to-day basis that nothing goes wrong. Again, that's not a good idea. That's not a strategy when it comes to managing compliance and all these risks. Number two, you can try to manage it internally by dual tasking your existing staff and managers. Unfortunately, that's a very common mistake that companies make, and it never works for two primary reasons. Number one, your existing managers probably don't have the experience and qualifications to understand these regulations. And number two, even if they did, they don't have the time because they're already dual tasking and multitasking all these different responsibilities that contribute typically to the company's bottom line. So at the end of the day, if you're trying this strategy, it's not going to work, and you're going to end up in a kind of a continuous non-compliance condition. I made the same mistake with my own company, so I know firsthand how that works and how that fails to manage the problem. So the third option and the best solution for companies who are serious about achieving compliance and reducing their risk, especially if you're a small company, is our Assured Compliance Service. And I'm going to spend the rest of the video explaining why that's true. And to begin with and to summarize, when you achieve compliance, that leads directly to risk reduction. So if you look at the bottom of this graph, your compliance efforts, our Assured Compliance Service, as you're going to learn here in a minute, is a proven process for helping you to, again, achieve compliance and therefore reduce your risk. So we've helped many small companies to achieve these goals and would love to help yours too. All right, so what is Assured Compliance? So basically what it is, it's a 17-year-old proven and proprietary process that will get your company compliant with all these regulations and again, reduce your risk. And again, just to emphasize here, we can help out with your safety and your environmental compliance. A lot of consulting companies either focus on safety or environmental, but not both. But with Assured Compliance, we can cover you on both fronts. And so with this service, we essentially become your company's environmental health and safety compliance department. So that means that we're going to develop and write your customized written programs for both your safety and environmental needs. We get this question all the time. Are you guys going to actually write our programs? And the answer is a definitive yes. We're going to develop and deliver customized employee training to your staff. We're going to conduct routine inspections, provide detailed reporting on our findings, help you with record-keeping requirements, ongoing consultation, accident investigations. Again, everything that if you had your own environmental health and safety department or staff member, that's what we're going to be doing for your company. And we do all this for 50 to 75% less than the cost of hiring a full-time EHS manager. And it's a fixed monthly fee structure with no surprise charges, so you can easily budget, know what the expense is going to be with no surprises. So again, everything you need to manage EHS compliance and reduce your risk. And also, by the way, we offer a performance guarantee. We're actually going to provide a guarantee of OSHA compliance, and I'll talk more about that in a moment here. Okay, so now that we've talked about all the features and benefits of the service, let's talk about how does Assured Compliance work? How do we actually implement this and manage it at your company? So step one of that process is we'll complete a compliance risk assessment. And basically what this is a gap analysis. And we can do one for OSHA, health and safety compliance, and or environmental and hazardous materials compliance, or both. And so this is going to include a facility inspection, training review, written program review, environmental permit review, reporting, records, OSHA 300 logs, etc. So kind of think of it as a mock OSHA audit or a mock comprehensive EPA or TCEQ audit. And then after we complete that process, we're going to actually return out to your company to provide a comprehensive report in a presentation format to you and your entire management team. That's going to include an executive summary of our findings, a fine liability estimate, and just FYI, typically on the OSHA side, that fine liability estimate is going to be $100, $200, or even $300,000 or more. That's not at all uncommon. It's going to include a prioritized rank list of all the deficiencies that we found in all those different areas that I described earlier. And then, of course, recommended corrective actions for each one of those deficiencies. So the main benefits that you get from the compliance risk assessment process is, number one, you're going to know your company's current compliance condition and all the gaps, and you're going to know your risk potential. And obviously, both of these are key in this whole process. And the third major benefit is the results of the assessment are going to actually create a prioritized action plan to achieve compliance at your company. Which leads us to step 2 in the process, where we use all the information from that compliance risk assessment to actually create your customized plan to achieve and manage EHS compliance at your company and, of course, reduce your risk. And as part of that process, we're going to assign a dedicated consultant to manage the entire process. And if you have environmental compliance needs, we'll probably assign 2 consultants, one for each area. He or she will be responsible for driving, developing, and managing all of your compliance programs. Your consultant will work both remotely as well as on-site at your company, managing all of this. Always keep in mind that they're available by phone, email, or text to answer any questions at no additional cost. Kind of an open-ended consultation throughout the whole process. But also keep in mind that you're gonna also have access to our entire team of experts who have over 100 years of combined experience managing EHS compliance at no additional cost. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about your consultant activities. Again, they're going to work off-site, developing your EHS programs, and then on-site, actually implementing and managing the programs at your company. And we'll take a little closer look at both of these. So your off-site program development activities, there's a lot of different milestones in this area, but these are some of the major ones. We're going to draft your customized health and safety manual, your policies and procedures to map out how we're going to manage your OSHA compliance requirements. And then we're going to develop customized training for all of your programs to deliver to your staff. This is where, if you need help on the environmental side, we're going to write your environmental plans and permits, like your stormwater pollution prevention plan, air permitting requirements, SPCC, hazardous waste management procedures, and so forth. All that will be done off-site. We'll do our research and our planning work as well. Then on the on-site program activities, where we actually implement and manage everything, that's going to include doing inspections, training delivery to your staff, develop your lockout, tagout procedures, complete hazard assessments, health exposure testing. These are just some examples of things that we actually have to do on site to help implement and manage everything as part of your compliance program. All right, let's talk briefly about scheduling and rollout. So there's going to be a lot of accelerated activity during the initial 3 to 4 month period. Remember that during the compliance risk assessment, we have prioritized all the deficiencies from an A1 down to a C3. So we want to tackle all those A1s and A2s during the initial 3 to 4 months to help reduce the potential for serious injuries, fines, and so forth. And then after that initial period, we kind of transition to a maintenance mode for the remainder of the year. And that assumes that we were able to get a lot of stuff done in that initial time period. That often comes down to the company, whether they're able to implement our corrective actions and get things going. So we really need your help during that initial phase so that we can move into that maintenance mode for the remainder of the year. All right, so keep in mind that we're going to capture and manage and schedule all this through use of what we call a compliance calendar. And here's a screenshot of what that looks like. And really what the compliance calendar is, it's a 12-month plan for implementing and managing your customized programs throughout the year. It spells out all the safety and environmental compliance tasks that need to occur to achieve compliance, your training, inspections, lockout, tagout procedures, and so forth. And it actually will give you a specific plan for each individual month, so you can know exactly what needs to be done, what we're going to be done on any given month throughout the year, what training topics going to be trained, if we're going to do lockout, tagout, if we're going to do a stormwater inspection. Be is going to be captured in that compliance calendar. It also assigns responsibility. So keep in mind that we're going to be executing just about the vast majority of these activities, but there's some things that we just can't do. Like, for example, if it rains and you have a stormwater pollution prevention plan, your staff needs to go out there and collect that sample, on a weekend. We can't do that for you. We could, but there's additional costs. But there's certain things within the program that require the customer to actually do. So anyway, all that will be spelled out in the compliance calendar. It's a real critical planning tool. And we're going to give you access to that compliance calendar and a lot of other things within our compliance dashboard. So this is a really cool collaboration tracking tool that we built earlier this year. And so the compliance dashboard, it allows you to stay up to date on your EHS programs. It'll give you real-time individual program status updates. So you'll have a program in there for everything from lockout, tagout to hazard assessment, stormwater, hazardous waste management. Everything's going to be in there, and you'll be able to see the status of each one of those programs. It allows us to send out push notifications and reminders. So when we need your feedback or help on something, you'll be able to see that within the dashboard. It also allows us to upload all of your EHS compliance documents and records in one place. So no more having to scramble around in emails or in files trying to find everything. All of your compliance documents and records will be in one place. So it's a really cool tool that we've developed to help manage everything and give both of us access to that dashboard so everyone knows what's going on at any given time. Okay, so let me begin to wrap up by talking about our regulatory enforcement assistance, which is included in our assured compliance service at that fixed monthly fee. So this goes back to the OSHA compliance guarantee. So let me explain how this works. So if you get inspected by OSHA at your company or one of your projects, what you want to do is let the inspector know that you're under contract with a consulting company. You give us a call. We're going to drop everything and get out there as soon as we can. And we're going to help you through that entire inspection process. Sometimes this takes a few hours, but sometimes it can take several days. And we've seen both with our clients before. If OSHA ends up issuing any citations that we feel we can defend and get thrown out or reduced, we're going to help you build that case and help you through what's called the informal conference process, where we go in and meet with the officials and try to negotiate those fine reductions or even getting citations kicked out. And again, we've been very successful with this with many of our clients who have been inspected, and we've gone through that process, achieved fine reductions, and again, even getting citations kicked out. The other big component of this guarantee is that if OSHA cites you for something that we forgot or we missed, we're actually on the hook to help pay for those fines and penalties. That's very rare in our industry. So if you're out there looking for other options, I strongly encourage you to ask those companies if they offer a compliance guarantee and if they actually will help pay for fines and penalties. So a lot of other companies will help with enforcement, but that'll trigger an hourly fee throughout that entire process. Again, we include all these guarantee components with our fixed monthly fee at no additional cost. A huge benefit for our clients, so don't forget about that. All right, so other considerations as I wrap up here. One of the real common questions that we get is, hey, after 1 year of assured compliance, are we done? Can we just go ahead and cancel the service? And the thing that's really important to understand is that environmental health and safety compliance is a never-ending process. There's always training, there's always inspections, there's all these elements that these federal and state laws require that you manage on an ongoing basis. So it never ends. So actually what ends up happening is we renew these contracts at about a 95% rate. But the good news is that typically in year 2, 3, or 4, or 5, and we've been working with companies for many years, we can reduce that cost because we've done a lot of that heavy lifting and a lot of that program development in the first year. So again, that's a real common question that we get, and we renew these at a very high rate because of our performance and because of the the value that we're adding to the company. We take all this off the client's plate so they can focus on growing their business. It's just a huge benefit. And once companies see those benefits live out through that first year, they're very inclined to renew. So again, very common question that we get that I wanted to address. So there you have it. That's Assured Compliance, what it includes, how it works, our performance guarantee. So feel free to click below or call this phone number to get started today. And again, we appreciate your time and thanks for listening.